And so, Prashanthi, I have another question about the visa bulletin. And if you could, of course, the current trends, and if there are any forward movement, that is in the oversubscribed categories as well, since you've already mentioned about some of the movements, 2 weeks, 2 months, or, well, even the significant backlogs that we see. So, how can they plan ahead, in terms of immigration strategies for applicants out there?
Well, then you should move to the categories which are not as oversubscribed. Depending on which country you're from, for India, that would be EB5 or that would be EB1. And as I said, if you have cases in EB2, you automatically qualify for EB3 as well. So you should file for the uh, filing from downgrading from EB2 to EB3. Instead of filing an amendment, my suggestion is to file a new I-140. That way, you have two I-140s, one for EB3 and one for EB2, and you can toggle between the both of them depending on what the priority dates look like, because we see that sometimes EB3 is backlogged and sometimes we see EB2 is backlogged. Uh, so that keeps changing. The reason now why EB2 is more backlogged than EB3 is because a lot of people who are filing are people who have come here on an F1 and have done their master's degree here. So most of them have a master's degree, and they have, the job requires a master's degree, and that's why a lot of people file in EB2. But it might make more sense now if you're filing a new perm, even though you qualify for EB2, maybe it might make sense to qualify to file in EB3, or maybe file for, as I said, two I-140s so that you have both. But remember, if you file your perm in EB3, then you don't qualify for EB2. But if you file in EB2, then you automatically would qualify for EB3 as well. Because the requirements are always lesser for EB3 and more for EB2. So while you can go up, you cannot go down, right? So try to toggle your applications between the two, and EB3 and EB2. Also, see if you qualify for EB1. There's no purpose in doing an EB2 national interest waiver. A lot of people try to do that because that might be the easiest one to get, but the EB2 national interest waiver is advantageous only if you don't have an employer, or if your employer is not willing to sponsor your green card. Then you need to check and see if you qualify for an EB2 in IW, but otherwise it makes more sense to do an EB1. EB1 could be, you could do it if you are extraordinary ability in the arts, sciences, business, etc., STEM. But remember, not many people qualify. It's obviously only for the top uh, people who have an extraordinary ability in that particular category. If you're a regular software developer, then you don't qualify. You have to be an extraordinary person within your field, having received awards, memberships, being judged other people, or done research. If you could also do EB1 researcher category if you're a researcher, if you've had several publications, and if you have patents on your name, etc., etc., then you can definitely look into the EB1 extraordinary ability category. The other EB1 that you can look into is the multinational executive. So if you have worked as a multinational, as an executive for your company abroad, and if they have a company, qualifying company in the US that is either a subsidiary or a branch or an associate of their company abroad, and if you're going to be working in the same position of an executive or a manager, then you could possibly look at the EB1 multinational executive category. So a lot of people on an L1A would qualify for the EB1 multinational executive. While the EB1 is backlog 2022, but it's still better than the EB2 and EB3, which is 2013. So this is what I would do. Try to see if you qualify under any of the other categories and file your application in those categories, or at least file under EB3 if you have an EB2, because you would definitely qualify for EB3.